Okay, here we are.
Okay, here we are. I know. I, I'm writing my book. Obviously, I keep talking about that, but today's the deadline. And it's so cool because I have to tell you, like, I'm having to adjust things because I wrote, like, I want to start a podcast. And I'm like, oh, I got to change that because I did. You know what I mean? Like, I'm having to like make
The
edits.
embodied
The
woman.
embodied one because yeah, like I'm having to make edits because a lot of the things that I was dreaming about, and I was like, my ideal day would be teach Play-O Jam in the morning, do a podcast in the afternoon, write my book, see my kids. And you know what? That's exactly what today is. That's exactly what my day is.
Yeah, love it.
And
Living your best life, your most
and
embodied life.
my most embodied life. And I'm listening to Kathy Heller's most recent podcast, and how much in
Gold.
alignment
Gold.
is that with my whole thing about like I like this movie I'm creating, I like this movie I'm living. Like
I know I was gonna text you that. I was gonna say, did you hear her just say she like what movie are you in?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, this is my movie. This is my couch, my movie.
I love your sweater. It's so pretty.
Thank you.
It's really nice on you.
It's very, oh, look at how it's
Oh,
like,
that's so cute.
you know, it's from my ex-husband's stepmother. She gave it to me. She gave it to me last Christmas when we were all there in Florida together. And it's very East Coast preppy, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's good on you. It's a good color. So let's talk about Sonnet.
Yes. Okay. So Sonnet is coming on, and I'm so excited because I was going through my emails looking for how we met, and we met in 2019 at this event, this women's event, and it was called No Mom Guilt.
Oh wow.
And it was for women who have big dreams like we do, who are also moms like we are, and like trying to figure out how to navigate that. And Sonnet is a beautiful singer songwriter, and had you know quite a bit of success when she was younger, and then she became a mom, and it's like she and I connected at this event because I related to that. Like I had been an actress and a performer, and so like trying to figure out how to blend being a mom and also like living your best life and like manifesting your dreams.
Yeah.
So I was like, and then and then I hadn't talked to her in all these years. And then I think I was listening to one of Kathy's podcasts, and she mentioned Sonnet's name. And I was like, Sonnet? I've only known one Sonnet in my life, and that's Sonnet Simmons. And I remember she had a podcast called Not Your Mother's Podcast. And yeah, so we'll have to ask her about that. But so I was like, oh my God, I wonder if that's the same Sonnet. And so sure enough, Sonnet is like friends with Kathy Heller and worked with her, like I think at the beginning, because they're both, songwriters. And so I was like, that is so cool.
And then sorry, go ahead.
No, and then I reached out to Sonnet and I was like, hey, so I'm doing, Kathy Heller's Abundant Ever After course, and I'm doing her podcast course, and she mentioned your name, and oh my God, this is so cool. And she got right back to me, and yeah, so here we are.
So, and then I was assigned to Sonnet's group within Kathy's course, and then I was like, oh, we're interviewing you. So it was all coming together. And Kathy's sister Barb was telling me that I needed to know her as well.
Really?
I think it's so cool. Is Sonnet her birth name? Because I mean, come on. Like, that happens a lot, right? Like you hear people's names and it's just perfect for who they are, but that's just so aligned.
I just watched that movie I was telling you about that woman, Diana, who was the swimmer, the marathon swimmer.
Oh yeah.
And her name, her given name, had something to do with like the ocean or swimming or something. And so she felt that her name was her destiny.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to ask her if that's her
Yeah.
given name or.
I also want to ask her about the cult that she, in her bio, says that she escaped from when she was 3 with her parents. Like she was born into a cult. And then,
Sonnet?
yeah, that's what it said in her bio, in her original bio, not the one I just sent you, not the
Oh,
shortened one.
I was like, I just read it. I didn't see that. Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
So, because that's the same as me,
I know.
born into some might call a cult.
Uh-huh.
My life, I've always called it the yoga ashram or the commune, but since have realized like, it's kind of a cult. And
Right.
left when we were, when I was, when I was 3. And
Yeah.
that's exactly the same as her. So I'm really curious to hear about that from her point of view, because I haven't heard anyone else have that like exact story
Ah, I
of like
know.
leaving at the same age. So
Yeah, that's,
I'm curious about that.
well, I think she's supposed to be coming on any second. The
So
guy, the landscaping guy is like literally on my front porch. Hello. As long as you can't hear it, I'm fine.
I can't hear it. And I'm I'm wanting to play one of Sonnet's songs, but I'm not sure if that's allowed because,
I mean, why not?
I don't know. I
That
don't,
song,
if we're putting it on the podcast and on YouTube, I don't know if like we have permission in that,
oh,
to play it.
we'll have to ask her. But
Yeah.
I love it. That song, her triumphant song, is
Mm,
so good.
so good.
Her other song, what's the name of it? It's I just was listening to it and it gave
Milky
me
Way.
chills. No, I'm gonna
What
get
if
it.
the world goes black?
Yes, yes. Oh my God. Like I left her a message and I was like, my entire body has chills listening to this. Like
Oh.
and I told her, I was like, as a dancer,
Mm.
when there's a song, there she is, that makes me want to dance. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
there's
Yes.
something very magical about that. Like it makes me want to move, it makes me want to dance. And that's her song. I was like, this makes me want to dance. It's
That
so
is the
good.
power of a good song.
But the triumphant summer mix that we were listening to that you put to our reel. How are you? Oh, let's see.
Asking her to
Oh,
unmute.
Sorry, I
Here
was
we
muted.
go.
nice
So,
to see you.
Oh, what a treat. It's so nice to see you. I'm just going to hook up my mic. I think it might have a better sound. Let me try that.
so we've just been chatting and we're so excited. And um, I'm gonna let Amber introduce you because she knows you and we're just getting to know each other. So, yeah.
Well,
I'm so excited.
I was telling Siri Sonnet that I was looking back through my emails, like trying to remember exactly the event that we met at.
Yeah.
And it was called No Mom Guilt.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, isn't that amazing? Like, because, and the reason why we connected and we hit it off was because we were both like performers throughout our life and like big dreamers.
Mhm.
And then in 2019, like we both had young kids. And so this whole event was like about how do you like be the big dreamer that you are and also be the mom that you want to be. And yeah, so and then most recently, Siri and I met through Kathy Heller's programs. And so
amazing.
I know. And so I was listening to something that Kathy was doing and I heard Sonnet and I'm like, I've only known one sonnet in my life. That I wonder if that's the same one. And so I love the like synchronicities of how we're all connected. And I've noticed you like just having more of a presence and just putting yourself out there in all these amazing songs. And so I was like, oh my God, Siri, we gotta ask Sonnet if she'll be on our podcast because she's totally the embodied woman.
Gah, I appreciate
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember at that event, they were said like, okay, they put us in little groups. They're like, you had to go and talk to somebody you didn't know and talk about something that you want to do or like work on or something. And I was like, I really want to bring more meditation into my life. And I told you this and you were like, I can help you with that. So
That's
funny
right.
that was like we just happened to start talking because we were supposed to talk with somebody there that you don't know. And so, yeah, I mean, just really, really cool that we get to
I
sing.
love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I opened All of Me in 2018, and so it was all about meditation. And so yeah, that's so funny. I didn't remember that exact story, but I love that. Well, what I'm going to do is
no, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I had just heard about you before that because Courtney, she was in my Mommy and Me.
Yes.
And so I was like, oh, I'd already heard about you. And then I met you. And then, here we are.
Here we are.
All the ways the pieces work together. Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you for being with us. I love it. I love it. I'm going to read your bio, and I just realized that I don't have the right questions. This is my son's homework. I thought
I'll send them to you. I'll send them to you.
I was like, I'm all ready. I got my questions. Oh no, this is not.
That's great. That's great. That's okay.
That's so fitting.
Yes, but I do have the bio, so I can read the bio. Okay, let's do this. So, singer-songwriter Sonnet Simmons is, now you just sent me the newest one.
No, that's just the questions.
Okay. Starting over. Singer-songwriter Sonnet Simmons is currently releasing singles off her new empowerment EP, Speak, a record for recovering people pleasers and anyone who has lost their voice along the way. Sonnet Simmons' heart-opening voice has been heard by millions around the world. Sonnet was one of the top contestants on ABC's Rising Star with Josh Groban, Kesha, Ludacris, and Brad Paisley. Her original music has landed placements with major brands like Coca Cola, GoDaddy, Nike, T-Mobile, and Microsoft, and TV shows like Younger, Riverdale, Katy Keene, and many more. Sonnet hopes to show her two little girls what it means to use your voice, take up space, and be unapologetically yourself. I love that. I love that so much. And I relate to that so much. I feel like my mission and my purpose is just amplified and enhanced by what I want to model for my children.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you don't even know until you have them what you want to model, yeah.
Yes. And then you clearly see what you don't want to model. So you're like, right?
Yeah. That is it. That is it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. All right. So we were just interrupted by internet issues. So funny because my husband's talking to Ryan Reynolds' company right now, and he was like, I can't use, like it cut out in the whole house. So we're both like,
this is not the time, internet. Yeah.
So Sonnet, I'm so curious to hear your story about the cult and leaving at age 3 because it's, similar, very similar to my story. So I'd love to hear your version of what happened with you.
I also want to hear yours. So my mom grew up in Hermosa Beach, like had a pretty idyllic 50s childhood, and was supposed to go to college and went traveling through Europe and met a cult, a group that she felt was going to help her save the world, and she ended up joining, and it was called the Children of God. And there really wasn't enough information to know she was joining one of the biggest cults, I think, to this date, really. And it was an international cult that I think probably still, maybe some members are still in it, but I don't know, people are still joining. And she got married in the cult, and she had 4 children. And my grandparents had hired a deprogrammer at some point when she came home for a visit. And that's somebody who kind of helps walk you through what your belief system is and what is reality, and kind of starts poking holes in what your, this brainwashing that's been happening. And she went back and she had another child, and it took her 3 years, and she finally did leave. She took my sister and I, and she left her 2 boys in the cult with their dad.
Okay.
And as a mother, like, I've been told this story my entire life, but as a mother now, I cannot comprehend that.
Mm.
And she
Right.
just
Me
told
too.
me she had to. And, you know, I think in some ways she did, like she just barely got out and all she could do was take her two little girls. But the boys weren't, they were like 5 and 6. They weren't bigger, like much bigger, you know?
Yeah.
And so I grew up with a single mom. We moved in with my grandparents and in and out. My mom had married a few times, and she just was really sad. She always was crying for my brothers. Like, I mean,
Mm.
understandably so, but I grew up with a mom who was really trying to figure it out. And I became the adult, I think, as a lot of us in this generation kind of did, is like you've gotta like grow up and you become the adult in the relationship. And so I had music, and music, you know, we moved schools all the time. We were always moving and music was the thing that kind of um helped me find that grounding and helped me feel seen, and I got a lot of praise for it, and was just really focused. That gave me focus. And my mom, she deeply loves us and loved us, but you know, she just did the best she could, and
Mm.
it was kind of rough. You know, and my brothers, when oldest my so one came back when he was 18 and he moved in with us, and at that point you're told like God's gonna strike you down, like you can't leave, you know. And he got in his car and he drove and he turned 18. They grew up all over the world, mostly in Pakistan, and I was born in Greece. My sister was born in India. They were born in different countries. Um, and my oldest brother, my mom hired the same deprogrammer for him when he came to visit us once, and he went back to the cult and then made arrangements after a number of years to leave, and had just bought a house and put his little child into school near us. And they got in a car accident in Russia, and they all died. And so that was like a tragic ending.
Mm.
Um, and my dad, I don't know how it was in your cult, but there was a lot of this. The cult Children of God was known as infamous sex cult. So there was a lot of child abuse that was happening. My mom taking us out. Now as a grown up, I can see she saved our lives. She saved our lives unknowingly. That was, I don't even think that was what motivated her to leave, but knowing girls
Mm.
that grew up in this cult, like she, or you know, children, boys or girls. um but so women were encouraged to have sex with other people. And so but I think she did actually fall in love with my dad. I have a different biological dad who's still, I don't actually know if he's in the cult or not, but um, I've never been in touch with him. I've never met him. And he went on to marry and have 6 more children, or I think similar something. But I recently got in touch with one of my brothers, half brothers from his side, which
Mhm.
was really wonderful and beautiful. To he's I don't he's not in the cult anymore, but um, just to one, he kind of looks like me, which like my family, I don't really look like anybody in my family. And I mean, I do and I don't. And you know, so it was interesting that even so here I am creating this music and coming through, wanting to teach my children, model for them what I haven't been taught, looking for the holes of which the skills that I wasn't given, and how to like learn those alongside of like raising my children. And
Mm.
um so I've had this story and I never really shared it. And I'm, you know, finally, not because I was embarrassed, but more just like I didn't want to take care of everybody's responses to how they feel about my story. And even now I know I'm kind of like a little bit like, here's the story, you know, but it's kind of really heavy and sad and hard.
Mm. Mm.
But
And
I am finally
complicated
sharing it.
because
Yeah,
there's
complicated.
so many people involved and layers and reasons and
Yeah,
people who don't
complicated.
understand cults. Oh, there is a little background noise. I'm not sure where that
Sure.
is. Um, but people who don't understand cults, it's like that's a whole education that you might need to give them, and so there's a lot
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a
You
whole
can relate.
episode. It's a
Yeah.
whole book. It's a whole book.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Have
So
you
interesting that you can relate to this so much.
Yeah, I mean, my story's different, but like my mom works on anti-sex trafficking because she's so passionate about you know, children not being put in those positions. And now it has, the reason I call the ashram a cult now is because I interviewed a woman who was my midwife, and she was understandably too concerned about the reactions of people that she asked me to unpublish the episode, because she's still in trauma, because she spent her whole life in the ashram and she raised her children in it. And then recently it's coming out that the children who were sent away to India were, you know, sexually taken advantage of, and that the head of the ashram was taking advantage of women. And there's a bunch of young women that, well, they're now not young women, they're my age, they're middle age, and they're now, you know, having a lawsuit against the cult, and it's all coming out, and there's a book now and everything. So
Wow.
it's weird to have something that you've related to, for me, my whole life, that was like kind of felt like it was what made me special, and like was really spiritual and beautiful and like so awe-inspiring in one sense, to then look at it all of a sudden as like, oh wow, this is like a really, actually has a lot of shadow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I can see that.
Did you end up writing any songs yet about this experience,
Hmm.
or is that to come?
Must be to come. I mean, I did maybe in my 20s. I was looking for my dad, and I went, I kind of like go through these moments of like in it and then just living my life, and then in it and then just, so there were some moments where I was curious about him and was looking for him, and I did write a song about it then. But I feel like I haven't written a song about it. Every song is about on this new record is just like about the growth and the place I am now, or the place that I was and how I got there, or words that I want my children to know, or how I want to live my life now.
Mm-hmm.
All influenced by the story.
Yeah, of course. So important. So, of course, this podcast is called The Embodied Woman.
I love
And
that.
um, yeah, I think I should let Amber kind of segue us into
Sure.
this.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that
Yes.
story. And I'm just always so fascinated. We all have a story, and and it does inform who we are and who we become, and our choices and our belief systems. And then, all the women that we attract and that we connect with today have all had some sort of catalyzing experience that has brought them to this moment now where they're, becoming an embodied woman. And so I'd love to hear about, what, and it's not always one experience, but what was for you a catalyzing experience that you felt like you were never the same, or, that kind of put you on this trajectory that you're on right now?
I mean, I think that becoming a mother, like there isn't one that is more profound or clear. Lots of little things along the way, but that feels like the stakes are high. That's not just like, oh, I read this book and it super inspired me to try to start changing things or growing in new ways, but like your children watching to me and being able to really stop and examine my life, what I like, kind of sleepwalking through life in a way as a trauma response and also as survival, and figuring out how to not live in survival. What do I don't want to teach my children unknowingly how to just like survive or be asleep through this beautiful life. And I think that was, as it is, I think for a lot of parents, that was it for me. That was where I really started to take stock of, I had seen clues. I'd had an eating disorder. I'd had, this and that and all the things. But it was really the wake up call of like, what do you want your kids to learn? Who do you want them to be? Because they're going to be you. So like become the woman that you really want your children to be. And so that was it.
How old are your girls?
3 and 5.
Oh, they're young. Yeah. My daughter is 11 and my son is 9, and I'm writing this book right now. And I was telling Siri the other day, part of my waking up began when she was born. And I had this vision of her soul, like being in some other realm, seeing me and seeing that I was close to like completely forgetting who I was, and how she chose that moment. Like, I gotta go. Now is the moment. Like, I gotta go in. She needs me. Yeah.
Chills.
And I'll never forget that first night that she was born, like having this feeling that was birthed in me that I didn't even know was there. This strength, this ferocity, this like, I'm capable of anything. I am a mom now. And how, we so often think like we're helping them, but we're these souls just united in this lifetime to help each other. Right. And to wake up. And so I love that story, because I really do believe that our little babies, these little souls that come to us, they are our catalyst often, or one of the catalysts. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. 3 and 5.
I love that so much. It's true. It's true. It's like we're in this dance. They come here as a way to teach us, and we get to take that blessing and move with it, or sometimes we can stay asleep for a while, but yeah, it's true.
So when you talk about waking up and you talk about your children being the catalyst for waking up, what else were you doing? Was it through music? Was it through meditation? Like, what were you using to start to wake you up that's now started to bring you into the woman that you are?
I mean, a lot of things, like listening to podcasts, reading books, meditating. I mean, I think meditation has been one of the biggest catalysts. And therapy, I guess, just asking the right questions and starting, it's just the awareness, whatever. I think I've tried everything, but that holding on to the awareness, like, oh, you're going back to sleep. This is the part where you start playing make-believe again. Like, whose life are you living? And it's so like, I've lived this life, and I don't know if you can relate, or if this is a woman thing, or if this is a me thing, but like, everything's fine. And like, you live a life of that. Like, I'm fine. And you're never really checking in. Well, maybe you might be fine, but like, maybe also you need to, like, how are you? How do you feel? What do you need? What do you think? What do you love? Any of those questions, I was just like kind of plateaued, because there was no space for that so for me, just becoming aware, oh, you're starting to zone out again, or you're starting to zone out is not exactly correct, but like the awareness factor. So meditation, books, therapy. I work for, Kathy Heller. Like, she has been one of the biggest catalysts in my life of just like truth and change and education around waking up and staying awake and going for what you really want and owning what you deserve, and really like using the positive that we have inside of us, but using it for like good, and not just to like go back to sleep, but like seeing what is possible and really going after that. So I don't know, all those pieces. Every day I strive for more. And I recently met this shaman who I've been seeing, who's also like really changed my, just like it's levels. I'm going to meet you guys in May for your retreat. At least that's on my, I'm going to try to, I'm really, really hoping that all aligns, date wise, but yeah, it's just,
I mean,
I love that.
If it's okay with Amber, I'm curious about the shaman experience.
Yeah. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was also curious. So this a friend of mine had mentioned him many years ago, and I was like, I was nursing. I nursed for quite a while, and I was like, well, when I'm not nursing anymore, then I can go check this guy out, because of course I was like, plant medicine, I need to not be nursing. I wasn't really sure. Like, it turns out that I could have done it anyway, and even if I was nursing, like, it doesn't. I don't have to do plant medicine with him. But so in April, as is, we were all just aligned. That was the right timing. I started seeing him, and it's kind of like Reiki energy work. We did hape, which is like tobacco based. It's not something that you can't do. You can buy it on the internet. It's just like it's like a medicinal tobacco. Like, it's just, anyway, it's not something.
Yeah, it's not illegal.
Yeah, or a
it's not a psychedelic.
hallucinogen,
Yeah.
a psychedelic. Yeah. So, I feel like for him, what he did for me and what the shifts I saw, like, I've been in talk therapy for a long time for different things. And that was just a remembering of who you are. Like, you just sit and you're meditating so deeply, and he's doing energy work, and it would be these short things. Like, it's really hard to describe, but when you go back and you're connected to who you are and your inner power, and you start letting go of fear. Like, I came into the room the first time I met him, and I was like, I'm just carrying this big bowl of worry. Like, and it's like sloshing everywhere. Like, my worries are overflowing, and I lay awake worrying. And what I felt like it did, working with him, and I still work with him virtually when I can, is it just helped me release the worry and get back in touch with my power on a more consistent basis, so that it's like, yeah, that might go wrong. And so then what? You're going to handle it, or like, and really see through the eyes of like love and compassion for people who I had a really lot of like, they're doing it wrong, I'm so mad at you sort of feeling. That was really only adding. I mean, this is getting kind of like woo, but I feel like
Bring the woo.
We love it. We love it.
The woo.
More woo.
More woo, please.
Okay, yeah, I have not really talked to anybody about this, so it's so interesting. I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna believe me or not, but okay, so
we're into it.
Yeah. So it really, like, I called them up, and I was like, okay, so this person that I normally am just like so angry with, all I can see is like their brokenness and their pain. And I have so much compassion and love for that person. And now I can relate to that person from an open heart, and we can do a different dance, because I'm not so mad at you all the time. And even I knew that I needed to do that, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't get all the way there. And doing this energy work and just sitting and somebody reminding you of like, just making space in your body. I don't even have the words for what exactly it is that it did, but those were some of the big, profound results that I saw, that really, like, I kept coming in like, I'm worried about my daughter for this. I'm worried about it's like, okay, well, when you don't have anxiety and you don't have worry, like, your children will not have that. Like, you have to start here. And so that was really, it's always so healing for me to remember that I worry about them. I just have to start here. Like, if I'm okay and I am healed and I am whole and I am aligned, then I am teaching them how to be in the world that way. And
that sounds like the male healer that I worked with. I wonder if it's the same guy. I worked with him in February of 2020.
Whoa.
And I left my marriage in June of 2020 because I got so much clarity about the truth of who I was. And
what was his name? Can you tell me?
Christopher Maher.
Oh, wow. No, this is Marcus. His name's Marcus, but
okay.
I've heard this is what happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was at that place, like you said, there are different levels and different layers. And I had gotten to a place in my healing journey where I knew that I was ready for the next layer. And I felt called to work with him. And similarly, you know, just whatever it is that he does, energy work and, you know, spiritual transformation and transmutation and body work, helped me remember enough the truth of who I was so that I got full clarity. And that's also when I gave up alcohol again, because for me, that was something that was in my way of being all of who I came here to be. So yeah, that's interesting.
And I've been working with a shaman as well, which Amber and I talk about a lot. And the nervous system regulation, the healing, the aha moments, the coming out of old stories. And Amber and I have been working together on doing lots of healing work. We just had a little mini retreat. I mean, it's so good, right? Like, just it's the best. When you do the work, when you go out of just the 3D world into the 10D, it's so good.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. Oh my God, I love it so much. Okay, I want to know, because I think when with your music, right? Because that was something that you found as a young girl that helped you really tap into your innate gifts. And I think and correct me if I'm wrong, you've gone in and out where you've been closer to it and then farther away from it. But right now you're like, this is happening. Like, I mean, the music that you're putting out, I left you a message recently when I listened to that song, When the World Goes Dark. That's what it's called? My body, even right now, when I think about it, I have chills all over my whole body, because I can feel that it's coming from your soul. Like, do you know, like you can just feel art when it's coming from someone's soul, and it feels personal, and it feels raw, and it feels like
powerful,
yes, and resonant.
Powerful.
So I would love to hear, you know, what happened recently that kind of brought you back into that place of creating.
Well, I have been creating for the last number of years. I've been doing music licensing. So I have been writing and I've been creating with the idea of commercials and television shows, and which is amazing because you get paid and you get exposure and it's awesome. Like, you know, but I had come off that reality television show and was just so invested that this was my last. This was it. This was all I had. Like, I'd given it all. I've been my whole life. Like, if this show doesn't make me famous and, you know, answer all my prayers, like, I'm giving up. And so I did. I got off that show. I was like, I'm going to get married and have kids. I'm done with this. Like, it's just so painful. And I met my husband 3 weeks later.
Wow.
And that was, you know, I was like, sign me up. You know, I'm done with this. And so this record, music has been really painful, like personal music. My music has been really painful to share or spend time on or create, because I had felt so abandoned by it, which is, you know, looking back, but I was so in it. I was in so much pain around it that I couldn't do it. And I've just had enough healing and enough space and come to a place where I can say, yeah, like I'm not 28 and I am fucking here. And this is my music and this is what I'm supposed to share. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know if I'll ever make, millions of dollars doing it, but hopefully I will. And I'm never going to know if I don't put it out there. And I had done it so safely before. And here, last fall, I was singing on somebody else's record and in the studio with this great producer, Billy Leffler. And he was like, where's your music? Like, where's your music, Sonnet? Because you go on Spotify and had like 4 listeners, and I was like, because I just wasn't sharing. And people were like, can I hear your music? I'm like, not really. Like, you can hear it maybe on a commercial, which is not to say that's not valid. Like, I really love that part of it and would love more universe of that direction, of course, always, but just wasn't sharing the same like soul wrenching or soul clarifying music. And so I worked with him on this record, and we finished it in spring. And I was really dragging my feet on like, how do I put it out there? And I don't know, and all the things. And I just reached out to people. I'm like, okay, well, what would Kathy Heller do? I'm so lucky to work with her enough to like really, like get resourceful on it. Like, what would you do if you were doing this for somebody else? So I hired somebody to help me just like stay accountable, because it was like I knew what to do, but I need the accountability. Hired somebody to help me keep me accountable, and just started putting it out there. And I think, social media is one of those things where it's like, for me right now, it's my sharing of my truth in a way that is really vulnerable. And every time I press record, I kind of see myself go into this like autopilot of, like, how do I bring who I am honestly and truthfully, and the messages that I have to share in my music honestly, and then do it in a way that's like, that people can see, and you're like pressing play and making a reel. And
I
it's really
saw something.
challenge.
I saw something you posted recently where you were at the piano and you were kind of in shadow, and you were like, this is just me playing," and it was gorgeous. It was
Thank you.
amazing. Yeah.
Thanks. So it's challenge, this is my challenge right now. When you were like, will you be on this podcast? Like, you wouldn't have seen me if I wasn't posting on social media again, if I wasn't really being present, if I wasn't pushing up against the I want to run and hide. I don't know if I'm afraid that people are not going to like it so much as I like articulating what I really mean, or being challenged to really say what it is that you're supposed to say. Like, keep showing up for your gift, keep owning it, and stop apologizing for it. And
Yeah, the recovering people pleasing thing you were talking about, right? Like, what's that journey like?
Yeah, I mean, I still see it. Yesterday, like, I said something to my husband that I'm like, I know he doesn't like that. I know he's sitting over there upset with me right now. I'm like, okay, I gotta just sit with this feeling. This is my people pleaser. Like, like, this is just, I need to just sit in this and know that, like, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to change what I said. I don't have to change my opinion. I don't have to say, are you okay? And take care of how he's feeling. Like,
Yep.
I just take care of how I'm feeling, and
Head chills.
comfortable.
That's it. No, we Siri and I talk about this all the time. Like, we're literally on Voxer every day, all day. But we're talking, we talk so much about codependency and how we have both lived.
We talk constantly about codependency.
but we have awareness about it, and we practice interdependency.
Yes.
But it's like trying on a new, a whole new outfit. It's like, ooh, I don't know how these.
Are you okay? Is this okay? Yeah. I'm okay. You okay?
Right.
I'm good.
I think it's beautiful. And I do I think that we are, as we become more comfortable being visible and being seen and letting people see us and owning the truth of who we are, and not apologizing and not abandoning ourselves and not sacrificing so that somebody else feels okay. Like, this is something that embodied women do. And we are all, this is what we are. This is who we are. And this is the energy that we are living and moving into. And sometimes it feels really good. And other times it's like, ooh, that little girl comes back and we're like, oh my God, please like me. Right. So it's a process. It's a process. Oh my God, it's so good.
And I love, I think the discomfort, like the way that it can feel uncomfortable, to me, I think that's been like, oh, you're doing something wrong because it doesn't feel good. Yeah. And now being able to be like, it doesn't feel good, and that's okay. Because we have these young children, we teach them, it's all right, you're frustrated. It's okay to be frustrated. But like, I don't think I was like, it's frustrating, I'm upset, it's uncomfortable. Like, what can I do to get rid of this feeling as fast as possible? And so to really live in this, this is uncomfortable right now. Like, I don't feel good about this, and I can sit in that, and that's okay. And that's I often think, which is so amazing about your podcast and what you're putting out there, is like, I wish there was a place, and maybe there is. I mean, this is part of that. It's like, where do we get to hear what is normal? Like, I don't feel like I didn't get that rule book of like, it's okay to feel, let me see if I can articulate this well, but like, I would love to hear somebody talking to their husband and saying something that they don't like, and then getting to hear the backstory of like what's going on in their mind, and then being like, see, this is normal. But we have to like learn that and grow in that and learn in that space. But your podcast is something that really helps people identify themselves in that and be like, oh yeah, I can do that, and this is just one of those uncomfortable feelings they were talking about, or this is just, the journey, and we get to kind of stumble our way through it. But your podcast is really helping so that there's less stumble and more like um, grounding in that path of becoming embodied.
Yeah, feeling more comfortable, expanding our capacity to feel uncomfortable it's a practice. And I think it's like what you're talking about, Sonnet, with just like the awareness and the waking up, just like the noticing of it, and feeling like I don't have to do anything about like you said, I don't have to do anything about this. I can just notice it. And then sisterhood, like we're talking about, like we have because of Kathy and these podcasts and creating these spaces. So many women now are creating these safe spaces for sisterhood where we understand each other because we process out loud.
Right. We process out loud. Yeah, that's why, I mean, I think like what you said, and thank you for that. That's one of the reasons why I feel so called to do this podcast and to write my book and the one woman show that I wrote, because I've lived my whole life going, do other people feel like this? Is this normal? And being afraid to share it because I thought people were going to think I was crazy or weird, or, and like what is normal for me is not normal for somebody else. Like I have had a tendency throughout my life to have fluctuating emotions. One day I'm like, great. And the next day I'm like, not so great. I'm having a dip. And I'm like, but I've only wanted to show people the part where I'm good. And then I'm like, let me hide out when I'm not good. And so my intention and reason for wanting to share my story, and then also to hear other people's stories, is so that we tell the whole truth. And it's like, oh, great. That's normal for her. That's her experience. And she's also doing all these amazing things and being embodied and following her dreams. And she also like couldn't get off the couch the other day. Wow. Okay, cool. That means that I can do that too. It's very healing to hear other people's stories and to hear honest, vulnerable. That's why we love Kathy so much, because she tells the truth and she tells it like it is for her. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. Right. I'm safe. I'm good.
Sonnet, what's some recent experiences? I know you touched upon some that you're navigating the embodied woman experience for yourself. And also, like, what does that even mean to you? Because it's different for everyone, what the embodied woman is for you.
So much to, where do I feel like the embodied woman to me is like a woman who's in her power and is an adult. She's like the CEO of her life, her body, her relationships. And I think I have, my childhood I was the grown up in that. And so I feel like I didn't get the skills for being a grown up in grown up life. Like it's taken me kind of this crossover of like, I had spent my childhood being the adult, and then you get to adult life. You're like, oh, these same things that worked as a kid don't work as a real grown up. So you have to really learn how to, like, you're not your little girl anymore. You're now a grown up who gets to be the confident woman who makes decisions and isn't afraid to make decisions. And then like maybe is afraid to make decisions, but also understands like I've got my own back. Like, so maybe that's not going to be the right decision or the best decision or the fastest decision where I want to go, but we'll pivot, we'll change. I've got you, like, and So the embodied woman to me is one who can remember more often that, to be connected to her power, to move from that space, and rather from the like, you're doing this to me space of like, oh no, like I'm just not okay with that. Like that doesn't work for me in my life, rather than look at all the ways that you're doing this wrong, or, because we're so just present. And it's certainly a practice. I mean, I don't always have it down, but I finally can see what it can look like and can keep pushing myself in that direction on a daily basis.
Do you have something you can think of recently where you were like noticing your unempowered, your disempowered self, and then kind of allowing yourself to notice it, and then how did you find your way out of that back to your embodied woman self? I put you on the spot here, but I mean,
it's good. I mean, it's good. I mean, the thing last night with my husband that was like so clear, I could just like see myself having that moment. I think like career wise, music wise, or just career business, maybe business wise. I was having a conversation with somebody, and it was getting to the like, oh, I'm going to say something like, I don't agree with them. We're trying to figure out something for our business or something business wise, and we're not agreeing. And it's getting harder to hold myself here. And I'm getting uncomfortable and upset that they like are making me like really have to defend my position. And then I could just be like, oh, well, they're not actually doing any, like they have their position, I have mine. And you can just hold that and you can say, yeah, this is where I'm at. This is, we can come back to this. Maybe we can come back to this. Let's think about it. But we don't have to like go into this. I don't have to feel like you are violating me because you're trying to tell me your position, and I'm starting to like get into that too with you because I'm needing to like tell you my position and why I'm right. And I'm also the person who's like, okay, fine, just do whatever you want to do then, because it gets too hard for me to keep holding my place. And so I'm mad at you for even trying to like, for making me have to hold that spot because it's so uncomfortable for me. And so I guess just being able to say, part of this is my stuff. Yes, maybe they're pushing, but like that's their stuff. And I'm going to just back up. This is where I am. I'm not going to give in. I'm going to think about it. And then we can come together and talk about this tomorrow. And it's like, it's business, it's not life or death, but I know it's triggering for me, like lots of other things that I have to kind of, I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to be like somebody's ideas like shoved in my face. And I also don't want to feel like I have to defend myself and sit in that space of like holding the line of my boundary, because my boundary is so hard to just hold in the first place. So, I start feeling upset about that. But I'm like, it's my job to hold my boundary. And just because they're pushing doesn't mean it's a bad boundary. And I just need to go take a break so that I can keep holding it.
That's so good.
Oh God, that's so good. I was thinking, you mentioned Sonnet when you were describing what an embodied woman meant to you. You were talking about like being in your power, and that's kind of what it sounds like. That conversation was a practice for you to see, like, okay, how do I stay in my power and not give it away? Because I think as women, so often have given our power away. And so just to notice that, like, oh, okay, this is triggering right now. And when I'm being triggered, I'm giving them my power. Like I'm literally letting them decide how I'm feeling. And so I'm going to recognize that. And then I'm going to go, oh, I'm either going to pull my power back right now in this moment, or I'm going to take a pause on this conversation so that I can go home and get my power back.
Exactly.
Right? Like, and then come back.
Yeah, I have to do the pause thing.
Yeah. So I think that leads me to my next question. Like, what are like your specific go-tos when you're like, okay, I'm feeling that I have given my power away, or I'm on the verge. I can feel that little girl coming in. Okay,
The little girl is activated.
What do I do? What do I do now to come back into my center, come back into my power, and be the embodied woman? Like, what are your go-tos?
So meditation helps, breathing, breath work helps. And I sometimes like will put it off and put it off and put it off. Like, you need to just do that. Like, you're going to feel like so much more, you need just do that. But I've also found that I have had a tendency in my life to avoid anger. And this is something that maybe women have, and I still haven't figured this out exactly, but I have been like boxing in my garage to like a boxing class or something, and like making noises while I do it, like, boxing noises.
Nice.
And I feel like that also really, it brings me back to my power, but it also just like releases like, oh, that doesn't really matter. Like that is a trigger. Like that really wasn't so heavy, or maybe it was, and I'm going to address that, but I have the power to address it. And I don't have to avoid it, because it might be a hard conversation, and I can have hard conversations. But it really has been like trying to access anger and upsetness, and trying to that has been something interesting that I've been playing with too.
I love that you're doing that. The somatic practice. I feel like it's so much about somatic practices now. That's beautiful. Like if you can just express, like feel it and express it and take action with it. Like, Amber obviously is a dance teacher. I facilitate breath work. Like, get in your body and express it. I love that. That's so cool.
I love that too. Yeah, I think
I feel like it's a movie. Like she's in the garage and she's like,
it's like Rocket, like the girl movie.
Yes.
Oh God, that's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Oh, I think always movement of some sort is, because we're energy and we need to move that energy and come back to our power. And especially as women, like it's natural for us to be connected and in tune with our bodies. And so if you're wanting to come back into your full power, it's often through the body, right? So, yeah. I mean, never do I finish a dance class and not feel more embodied. Never.
Right.
I'm always like, oh, here I am.
Yeah.
And Sonnet, when you're singing, do you use singing as a way to empower yourself? That's an embodiment practice.
Yeah. And it has been probably, throughout my life. And yeah, it's like that fine line of work and empowerment. Like, oh, I have to record these vocals for somebody for work, and it's really hard for me to do that because it's so technical. And then it's like, oh, I love to go into the studio and somebody else to record me, and then I get to just like have an experience of singing, and it feels so embodied. And so I'm kind of navigating that right now of yes, I sing with my children all the time, and I sit down at the piano when I can and sing, but it really is something I probably could bring more into my daily life, like just on a bigger level, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I will.
I want to hear you sing. Will you just sing? Like, I don't know how it works with Zoom. Like if you can, but will you just sing something?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll sing that song that just came out. Just the beginning of it, or the chorus of it anyway. And for your listeners who maybe haven't heard it, the idea is what you're at that precipice of everything. The life that you've been living doesn't fit anymore, but it's familiar and it's nice and cozy. Or like, do you give up everything that you've known as yourself, your name, your identity, all of it, to walk into the dark and what's on the other side? And like, you don't really have a choice. Like, you have to go, but it's really hard. So, that's what that song is about. And the chorus is, What will the world look like if I give up my name? What will the stars be like if I set them ablaze? What if I break down? What if I undo? What if the world goes black? What if the world goes black?
Oh. God, it's so good. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'll tell you, you are fucking phenomenal. And I just don't believe that we are given these kinds of gifts without they're given to us for a reason. You are not given this kind of voice and this kind of message and this kind of story and this kind of fire that burns inside of you without it's meant to be shared with the world. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it makes me want to weep because I know that feeling of leaving what I've known to walk into the darkness, the unknown, let go of my identity, because there's something in me that says, you're meant for more. Just say yes. And I see you doing that, and I honor you, and I just keep going, girl. Keep going.
I love hearing what that song was before you sang it. It made it have this whole other realization aspect for me and like meaning for me when I understood what it was about. And then also I just want to say it's so amazing that you're a mom right now of these two little ones, and you're showing up the way that you're showing up for your music, and you're in the being so visible, and also the way that you're helping all these other women to realize their dreams. That's a lot. That's huge. I mean, that's incredible. It is.
Yeah.
It is incredible.
Thank you.
Well,
I can keep talking to you all day long, but I want to honor your time.
So
I want people to know where to go. Ahead, Siri.
Well, I was just going to say, is there something that you're really lit up or excited about that you want to share, that you're doing, or that you want to, anything? It can be anything you want to share.
Well, I mean, this record is really my everything right now. My favorite songs are still to come. They're coming out in the spring. There's 3 more songs off the record. There's a song called Speak, and that is what the catalyst was for the entire record. I was really struggling in a space of trying to get myself to speak or really own it, and the rest of the record followed that. So that's still to come in the spring. And there's more music, and I really am just looking to connect with people who connect with the music. Putting it out there is to really create the community of people who feel seen by it, feel healed by it, feel like they want to talk about it, because that's where I'm at, or where I've been, where I'm going. And it feels like a rich conversation, that we're all kind of having in this place in the world right now. And so that's, you can follow me on Instagram. I think I'm Sonnet Music pretty much everywhere. Instagram is where I'm trying to, and TikTok, but I really haven't gotten TikTok down yet, but I'm really trying. So, and Spotify, follow me on Spotify. When the songs come out, the best thing you can do for independent artists is to like it and add it to your playlist and, listen to it.
Okay, one last thing I want to ask you is, for other women artists, what's some guidance that you would give them?
Good question. Find community. That's probably number one. I mean, yes, there are which way do you want to go? Or you want to do music licensing? Do you want to do this? Which direction are you really finding you want to put yourself into? But I think finding that community is the most important part. I have a company called 2Indie, and we help coach and support independent artists, and have a beautiful global community of artists all over the world who I help kind of support in finding opportunities and connecting with other artists, making music that's needed in sync, connecting to the right people. But I community is everything, because otherwise you feel alone. You feel like you're doing it by yourself. You feel like everybody's against you. You feel like you can't get in your seat at the table, and like your seat is at the table already. So, find those people who are sitting at the table with you.
Thank
I
you.
love that. I love that. Your song Triumphant too. Like it's so like, it's so empowering, right? Like it needs to be on like a loudspeaker with it's just, it makes me want to dance and jump and holler. It's just so like such an anthem.
Thanks. I listen to that song sometimes. I'm like, I wrote that. Like,
it's so good.
It's just like so everything you need sometimes. Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good.
Thank you.
I
love you, ladies. Thanks for bringing me on and seeing me and sharing my story and sharing your stories and just having this time to connect. It's really, what else is there? This is it.
Thank you. We're so grateful. We've been looking forward to this for so long, and I was so excited today to get to connect. And it's my favorite thing to get to do this. Yeah,
it's the best. It's the best.
So we love you too, and can't wait to share your music with everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. We'll keep sharing it.
We will.
And then hopefully we'll see you in May if everything aligns.
Yeah, it's in my calendar, so I just have to kind of align the rest of life around it.
Yay! Right. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sonnet.
Thank you, Sonnet. We
love
you. Have
a great day.
Okay.
Love
Bye.
You. Bye.
Oh. So that was wonderful. I'm so impressed with her non-ego, like her humility and her authenticity and her ability to just be like, look, I'm so superhuman and I'm just figuring this out, and I'm just gonna show you how it is. And it was so cool that she was sharing things that she wasn't planning on sharing and that she hasn't really shared much before. I feel really honored.
I do too. And I just feel, the thing that's so awesome, I feel like the more of us that start to share like the whole picture, the more like healing will occur. Because I think that like what we talked about in our conversation with her, there's so many of us that are like, wait a minute, like, is this normal? What is normal? I don't want to share that because people might. And so it's like, the more that we have the courage to go, I don't fucking know if this is normal for you, but this is normal for me. And just owning it, like, that is healing. Yeah. So I love that she was so willing to share that and to be honest. And that's what this is all about. Like, it's like with our conversation with Heidi, when she talked about what embodied meant to her, it was like showing up all of who she is. Yeah. So it's like the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs, the bright shining light, and also, the moments where you can't get off the couch.
I'm so excited that we can share her music and that it's all on Spotify. Yes. And I know there's a lot more to come for her. So I'm really looking forward to lifting her up and lifting these women up and sharing these women's stories so that we can all rise together.
It's so good. I got excited when she said that the best is yet to come in her album, because I was like, I love those two songs in particular, the When the World Goes Dark and then Triumphant. I'm like, if she has songs that are better than that, right? That's that's exciting. No, I'm so excited. It feels so good. And it's like, we've talked about this all the time, how moving into this new space where it's not a competition and there's no threat. It's like, we want everyone to shine. Yeah. We win when you use your gifts. That's right. When you shine, I win. When I shine, you win. And that sounds cliche, but it actually is true. Yeah. Because we are all one. Can't spray the perfume on someone else without getting it on yourself. Okay, I've never heard that one before. That's good, Siri. Really? I can't. If I spray it on me, it's getting
no, on someone else without getting a little on yourself. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Anyway,
that's how I like to put perfume on. Anyway, I like to spray it out and then
and then do you do a little turn? You could do a little dance.
I like it.
Like you spray it out there and then like turn into it.
I don't really wear perfume. I mostly put essential oils on. That's what I do.
I don't either.
But my daughter loves it. My 11-year-old daughter loves the Sol de Janeiro smelling perfume. So I will have her spray me sometimes.
Yeah.
Sol
and
de
then
Janeiro.
she gets a little on herself.
And everyone wins. Because
everyone wins.
You can't spray without it getting on you.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, you're matching your tumbler and your sweater. You're so coordinated. Yeah.
Well, this is purple and this is blue, but it does look like it matches.
It looks on camera. It looks very matchy.
Oh, it's such a good day.
You're like, it's such a good day. Okay, love you.
I love you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, you too. I'll talk